Hey guys, welcome back to the Maximilian channel, and in today's clip we're going to be taking a look at should you join a Forex trading community or not. So you would have seen loads of sponsored ads from Instagram, from Facebook, from emails with people trying to get you to part with your hard-earned cash to be involved in their community because it's going to revolutionise the way that you trade. Now I've paid for 5 different Forex educators online to assess whether any of them are good, and I'll be posting 4 reviews on those separately in a different mini-series on my YouTube channel. But for today's purpose we're going to be looking purely at the Forex trading communities and whether they are actually worth getting involved in. So just before we start, if you're enjoying the content, I'd really appreciate it if you could just give me that thumbs up, if you could subscribe to the channel, and of course click on the notifications so you don't miss my next one. Okay, so let's get to it. Forex trading communities, should you do it or not? So here are 5 key points in my opinion that cover the pros and also the cons of joining a trading community, and I'll leave it to you to make your own mind up. Okay, so number 1, and let's start with a positive because that seems like a good place to start. So as you know, with trading, it is a very solitary and lonely kind of hobby or profession or part-time hobby or whatever you want to call it, because there's not many people probably in your current friendship circle, family or affiliates or whatever that actually know what trading is or fully understand what you're doing. So it's very, very hard for you to have a full conversation, to share good points, bad points, ideas, strategies. It just doesn't happen in your normal circles. So joining a trading community really does give you that opportunity to see that there are other people doing this and doing what you're trying to do day in, day out, sharing their ideas, talking to each other, and it does create sort of this community feel as they're intended to do. It should never be underestimated that it is a very lonely job and a very frustrating one because you can only really share your emotions with yourself. So sometimes it's quite refreshing to see when people are winning, when people are losing, and to see that people are on the same train of thought as you and also going through the same roller coaster of emotions. Okay, so let's move on to number 2, and this is maybe more of a reality check. So in a lot of cases, trading communities are sort of advertised as a place for like-minded traders to connect and share ideas and whatnot. But basically that just means there's no moderation on the guru that sold you into the community actually having any activity in that community whatsoever. And then with that in mind, they basically make it out to be a good thing that because the guru isn't in there, it's actually all the traders sharing ideas. So it's them collaborating and getting some really good advice and really good strategies, and they can knowledge share and all this good stuff. But in most cases, it's because the guru's either not a proper trader, doesn't want to share their information, or is just plain lazy and they're just capitalizing on you paying for the monthly community just to speak to other people. And I'll be honest, one of my biggest issues is that because of that, you do just get a bunch of amateur traders trying to share ideas based on unfounded knowledge and basically a few articles they've read or a few videos they've watched. It's just a bunch of guys trying to talk about stuff that they know nothing about. And the other thing worth considering with these is that communities are mainly targeted at people that are looking to come into Forex trading, not people that are currently existing in Forex trading. So a lot of the cases, all of these people that are coming in, it's like, yeah, learn all the stuff you need to learn. You know, there's loads of people sharing ideas, strategies. You'll learn everything that you'll need to learn from being within a community of people that are in the same position as you, which is sounded to be attractive. But the reality is, do you want to be in the same group or surrounded by a huge amount of people that are at the same level as you, or do you want to be surrounded by people that are better than you who are actually going to be able to teach you, or at least be able to share things on a different level where you can question it and learn more? So for me, I'd rather always have someone better than me so I'm constantly learning, or I can see how their mind thinks and the sort of suggestions they're putting so as I can probe them. But the reality is that a lot of these is that there's just a lot of amateur traders with puffed up chests trying to sound like they know what they're talking about based on something a guru said 3 weeks ago and repeating certain phrases and trying to make out as if they know what they're talking about. And just think of this in context. It's not just trading on its own, but if you think in any walk of life, when there's a political election, when there's sort of medical issues, or when there's a big sports event, everybody becomes like a subject matter expert in that particular area. And for 2 weeks, everybody during a political debate is an expert on left wing, right wing, all of the policies. But the reality is they're not. They're just basing it on articles that they've read or people that they like and what they said, and then just regurgitating this information. Forex trading and communities can be a little bit like that. I'm not saying that everyone is like that, but you do need to be very selective and very careful about the ones that you do join. So everyone's a great Forex analyst when they're sat on their chair and they can see what went up and what went down, and they can give it whatever reason they want. But unless they're actually in the game and actually showing you live trades or going through analysis where it's consistent, you can actually understand what they're doing. The reality is that they're probably not that good, and they're probably just speaking a good game because they're too worried about the hard work it takes to actually become good at the trading game. And breathe. Okay, so number 3, we're going to go back to something a bit more positive, and that is that you can ask all the questions that you need to ask to understand all the lingo and the information that you may not get if you were to just buy a very bad Forex course. So simple things about knowing, what a stop is, what a trailing stop is, what cable is in reference to what pair, these kind of things where you'll see people mentioning it and maybe in the industry you'll hear it, but you won't quite know what it means. Yes, you can do your own research and I always recommend that, but in the communities, it can be quite a good thing because you can just put it in there and there's probably 50 people to 1,000 people that are going to see it and they can immediately respond. Okay, so moving on to number 4, and of course it's going to be the equalizer of something that I see as a con for the trading community. And that's something that we touched on earlier. It's basically that you are just going to be surrounded 80% by beginners. Now, as I said, there are some trading communities that are very, very good, and they do have their experienced traders filtered into the communities. So they're constantly answering questions, posting up their analysis and posting up their ideas and doing Q&As and all this sort of stuff. Now, that's an example of a great community, and obviously I'll touch on what great communities look like in some of my reviews of the individual companies. But there are a hell of a lot of communities out there that are just left there so as people just speak, and there's very few people that actually know what they're talking about. So that being said, in the previous point, it is good as a beginner because you can just ask those silly questions, or silly questions that you feel when you're starting out. You can get a good broad knowledge of what's going on. You can understand the lingo and see that other people are working. But long term, unless you're in a good community, you're just going to be surrounded by beginners from start to finish. And let's be honest, in human nature, a lot of people are just plain selfish. You want to go onto these communities, you want people to answer all your questions at the drop of a pin. But the reality is when people start asking the same questions over and over again and you're in the community, a lot of people can't be bothered to respond because they're like, oh God, I'm beyond that, or I'm over it, or I've already learnt this. So actually the one thing that you wanted when you entered the community, very few people give back when they're actually in it. Okay, so let's move on to number 5, and unfortunately this is more on the con side of what we're discussing. And obviously I should just reiterate again, I am a member of a couple of communities that I do actually value, but I'm just saying that in general, most of them do follow this track, and you need to be careful about selecting which one. It's not just a case of going, I'm going to join a Forex community, so anyone's going to be a good one. You do really need to find the one that suits your personality and also, understand what you want to get out of it. But in most communities, I would say that you do just get a lot of people trying to sound great that aren't great. And that is a big issue when you're trying to learn. And in some of the worst communities, you'll find that the conversation goes way off piece. Usually there's parameters in communities and people put it there because they know that that's what they should do. But the reality is people start talking about, I don't know, widespread news, or, what car they're driving, or God knows what else. All of this is all interesting stuff if you're in the clique that the people are in there, but it's not so interesting when you're actually trying to talk about Forex or learn about Forex and you're putting questions out there and somebody else is more interested in, when they bought their Audi S3 or whatever. It just shows a lack of focus on Forex, and in most cases, that discussion forum could be put somewhere else and it could be good use. It could be like a general chat, but you don't want that when you're trying to learn physical and technical things to do with the Forex trading market, especially when you're parting with your money each month to be a part of this community. Okay, so look, in summary, I don't think they're all bad, and I do think that there is a place for a good Forex community, and I do think that you should join one if you do feel that they are good and that they match what you are looking for. The key things I would look out for is, do you think it's more of a beginner's community, or do you think it could be good for you if you were to go from beginners to an intermediate level trader? I think the communities stop being beneficial when you get to the advanced stage of trading, when you're completely autonomous. So unless you're somebody that does want to give back and want to be involved in that, then it's absolutely fine. But I would say that if you get involved in a good community, it brings you up from a beginner level to an intermediate level, and you can share things and have like-minded conversations. You probably make friends in them as well. But you do need to be very careful about which one you choose, because it can be a bit ropey out there in terms of the types of people and the amount of people, and also the types of information that you're going to get out there. In most cases, I would say look if they've got an education program and see if they've got decent reviews, and see if you can resonate with the guru themselves, and also see how active they are. Even if it's a case of doing a trial or maybe getting involved for 1 month, go and try it, but don't commit to like a year or 6 months or whatever it may be. And like I said, it does offer a great community feel, and it does make you come out of that lonely space of not thinking that anybody else is doing what you're doing. But you want to find the balance of finding people that are like-minded and actually driven like you, and not just people that want to seem like they're driven or just trying to get involved because they think they can make a few quid. In most cases, these forums and communities tend to be just made of lazy gurus that are capitalizing, as I said, on that cash coming in, and they don't really put any effort in. And that is something that really frustrates me, because people are paying sort of 50 quid a month sometimes to be in these things. So you really do need to steer clear if you think that that's the case. So what's my take? Should you join a Forex community or not? Yes, you should if you're a beginner to an intermediate trader, but you should be very specific on the guru and the company that you choose, because it should suit your personality type and it should suit what you're looking to achieve long term. The last thing you want to do is be in a community surrounded by a bunch of lazy wannabes that are sharing average information that's usually false, the people that don't actually take the trades and just analyze them all the time, and also just a community where people go well off piece time and time again. If you find yourself in the latter position, then get out as soon as possible and go and try and find somewhere else. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this video and it's brought you some value. So if you are enjoying the content, then again, I would really appreciate it if you could just give me that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you click on the alert so you know when I'm posting the next one. And speaking of the next one, I'm going to be doing on whether you should be using Forex trading signals, whether there is actually benefit to them. A lot of people slate them and a lot of people try and sell them as great things. So I'm going to do a balanced review on whether I think you should or shouldn't do it, so as you can make up your own mind, similar to this video. So listen guys, if you've got any questions or comments, then put them in the comment section below, or grab me on my Instagram @MattToMillion. And if I don't speak to you before, I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.